I'm Chetna, and I will be your mentor through this course. So it's really nice to see that there are 25 participants here, almost 25. It's nice to see that so many of you have taken up this internship web development domain. I do agree there are many interesting and equally interesting and wonderful domains out there. But then my absolute favorite is web development. Hands down, it's web development. Something about the web, or the World Wide Web as it's usually called, is just so fascinating. People usually don't realize it or pay attention to it, and they don't understand how powerful it can be. Nowadays, everyone, web and World Wide Web is everywhere. Everyone is using it. I'm sure all of you are also using it. We can't live without it. I mean, if it were not for web, would we be here having this call today? No. That's why I say it's very powerful and capable. And being able to contribute to it or being a part of it is just really satisfying. And it's like you've reached the pinnacle of success. So I am very excited and I'm looking forward to teaching you and sharing all the knowledge that I have in this domain with you. And I hope you are also excited. Can I get some answers? Are you interested? Are you excited for this internship? Just put a yes or something in the chat. Just say, I hope it's a yes from everyone. Yeah. Yes. Great. I love seeing the excitement. So let's start with our session. Now let's first look into our agenda. We'll first get a brief of the internship, the outline of this internship, which will span over a month. And then we'll start off with the basics. I'll just give you a brief introduction about the web and other related topics and how it works and everything. And then without further ado, we'll directly start with web development and the first language that we'll be learning in this internship. So so before we start, if you guys have any doubts throughout the session, please feel free to just put up a message in the chat, or you can unmute yourself and ask the doubt. Otherwise, the remaining time, please stay on mute, so we don't want any disturbances, so the flow is maintained. Yeah, so feel free to ask doubts always. Even if not, in the end, we have 15 minutes meant for discussions, so you can always ask them. Okay? Is this speed okay? I've just started. So if you have any problem, if I'm going too fast or too slow, you can always tell me. Feel free to tell me anything. Okay? So this internship is basically, like I told you, will span for a month. So we have two phases. The first phase is the learning phase, so which will range for 3 weeks, and you learn some of the important languages in web development. So you learn HTML, you learn CSS, you learn JavaScript. All of them will be a part of the front-end development, and then you'll have, we'll learn PHP, which is a scripting language, which will connect the front-end development with the database, which is going to be handled by MySQL. Okay, so these are the languages that we'll be looking at in this internship. And then in phase 2, you will be implementing, or you'll be creating a project or a web application, implementing all of these skills that you've acquired during this internship. Okay, is it good so far? Yeah, shall we move ahead? Yeah, okay. So, yeah. So I was telling what a web page was. So a web page is just a fundamental unit of the web. Okay, so it's just a collection of information that's there on a website, and you can view it using a browser. So then we come up to a website. So website is just a collection of these web pages. Now, how do we view this website or this web page? That's where our browser comes into picture. So a browser is just a software that retrieves these websites from the web server. So I'm sure all of you are aware of all the browsers that are there. There are so many browsers, and we use it in our everyday life. So can you guys just name some of the most common browsers? You can see some on the slide itself. Just quickly name them and we can continue. Yeah, Chrome. Chrome is a browser. Google is a website. So Chrome is the browser. Firefox, yes. Some more. You have Internet Explorer, you have Opera, you have Opera Mini. Yeah, okay. So then we have the web server. So web server basically hosts these websites. Okay, so on a browser, when you just type a URL, URL is a uniform resource locator. So when you type the URL for a particular website, where do we get this website from? Where are these websites residing or where are they situated? They are stored in a web server. So web server is just a special computer that's always connected to the internet. And whenever you request, we are the clients. So the browser is a client. So whenever you request for a page or a website, the web server will immediately respond to your request by sending the particular website. I'm sorry. Okay. So now let's just look at how exactly this happens. How does the web actually work? Like we understand, so the web server has the website and it sends it to us. But how does it happen? How do we identify which web server to ask for our website? How do we contact the web server? So that's where DNS comes into picture. So DNS is a domain name system. It's another server. It's like a telephone directory. You can just think of it as a telephone directory. So our browser, when it wants to search for a web page or a website, the URL that we type in, along with the URL, it will connect to a DNS server. That DNS server, the closest DNS server. Okay, there are 13 major DNS servers in the world. So we'll connect to the closest one, and then that will return the IP address for that URL that you've typed in. So this IP address is like a phone number. You can think of it as a phone number. It'll identify a person uniquely. So instead of 10 digits, it'll be like 12 digits. Okay, so an IP address has 12 digits in them. And then it will send the IP address to us. Along with the IP address, the browser can connect to the web server. So the web server will then respond to our request and send the web page. So that's how it basically works. That's the basic way it works. So now that we have a brief about how web works and what exactly it is, so let's go into web development, which is why all of us are here. So enough of theory, and let's start with web development. So web development generally is just creating web applications, process of creating web applications. Okay, so you have different parts in it. So you have the front end and then you have a back end. Front end is what you see. So you open a website, the look and the feel of the website that you see, and every aspect of the website that you're able to view is part of the front end. Back end is just, it's stuff that you can't see, but it happens. So it's like all the data, the retrieval of the data, the logical part of the website. It's very important for the entire web application to function properly. To explain this better, I can take an example. So think of a restaurant. Okay, so when you walk into a restaurant, the interior decor that you see, or the ambience, the service, how do they serve you, and the food that you eat, the entire experience there, that will be the front end. So that's what you see and that's what you experience firsthand. Okay, so the back end of this restaurant could be like the kitchen portion where they actually cook the meals that you eat back into the dining hall, and also how they take in the delivery and inventory. That's equally important. Like, I get it, ambience and the look and the feel, the seating, comfortableness, all of that is important. But if you don't take in the delivery or the inventory of the actual ingredients, how would you cook? If you do not have a good cook back there, how will you get a tasty and delicious meal, right? So they are equally important and they're very crucial for the functioning of a web page or a web application. Okay, so far good? Yeah? Can I get some answers? Yes? No? Okay, cool. Now let's start with the actual topic. So the first language that we will be learning in this internship is going to be HTML. So what is HTML? It's hypertext markup language. Full form, I mean to say. It stands for hypertext markup language. So what is this fancy? There are fancy words here. Hypertext, markup language. What do they mean? Let's just split it up. So hypertext here means a text within a text. So if you have a text and that has a link within it, that it opens a different page, that's a hypertext. So whenever you click on some link and you go to a different page, right? It means you've just clicked on a hypertext. Okay. So this is the way we link different web pages, making a website. So in a website, you have interconnected web pages, right? It's not just standalone web pages. They're all interconnected. So it's possible through these hypertext and hyperlinks. The link as such is known as a hyperlink. Okay. And then a markup language is just a computer language. It's just used to format data, provide structures and it's used to provide structure and you can provide structural sections, you can create paragraphs, headings, you can provide links, which is what is hypertext, and then you can have web page application. So all of that is done by markup language. So it just gives layout and formatting for the entire document. Okay. So HTML basically defines the structure, as the term markup language actually means. So how does HTML actually provide structure and layout for a page? It uses elements. So a HTML document is just like a textual document. It just has text all over it and images and video clips maybe, but all of them will just be links again. So it's a textual document and it uses elements to provide all the formatting to a web page. Okay, so all of these elements are represented by tags. So let's look into what a tag is. But before that, one more thing is a markup language. The code, the actual keyword that you use in the markup language is never visible on the screen. Okay, it's just used to format the text or the content of the web page. Yeah. So let's go to the next slide. So now we look into elements and tags. So I just told you an element is represented by a tag. So these are examples of a tag. Okay, so a tag is just like a container. It will tell you how you should format the content that is in between them, how you should provide layout or how it should be displayed. That's all. So the syntax, you may call it, or the format is that you have a opening angular bracket and then you have a closing angular bracket along with a character in between them. This character is what signifies how the content between these two tags should be formatted. Okay, and a closing tag just has a / here. That's all. Pretty much very simple. And the P here stands for paragraph. So this is a paragraph tag. With the help of these two tags, you can add paragraphs in your HTML document. Okay, and so now elements. When I say elements, people often use elements in tags. They think it means the same, but then an element is an opening tag along with the closing tag, the opening and the closing tag along with the content in between them. So the entire thing will become an element, and this separate entity is a tag. Okay. So next we have attributes. We saw an element and then we saw a tag. So how do you add extra information to it? Some extra information about the contents in the tag. You use an attribute. So you can see an example here. We saw the paragraph tag in the previous slide. So we have the opening tag, you have the closing tag, and this is a paragraph in English. This is the contents of the tag. This is what will be displayed on the web page. These actual tags will not be displayed. Okay. So we are using an attribute over here called lang, which is for language. Okay. You can see there's a name here, and then you have a value, which is inside double quotes. Yeah. So attributes are like a key value pair. Okay. So it has a name and then you have a value. So the name attribute. So remember one thing, always the attribute names and the value must be in small, and then the value must be placed within double quotes. and they're separated by an equal to sign. So you can have them like HTML5, the current version of HTML allows you to write your attribute names in caps lock, and then your values, like it need not be within double quotes. But then that's not good practice, and I do not want any of you to follow that. So always make sure that your attribute name is in small, and then you have double quotes, like your values within double quotes. Okay. So, and one more thing to remember is an attribute is always placed in the starting tag in an element. So the entire thing will be an element now. And these are just the starting tags and ending tag. Okay, so over here, this attribute language is a global attribute. The name is lang and it's a global attribute, which means you can use it with any tag. It is not like you have certain attributes which can be used only with certain tags. But then you have some attributes like lang. You will see another one called title in one example that I'll take up. So that will be a global attribute. So over here, EN stands for English, that is US English. So it just means to say this paragraph that's going to be written here, it's in English. Okay, US version. Yeah, good. Okay, so now we found out the components of a HTML page or a document. So it's just elements, tags, and attributes. So we look at a basic structure of a HTML document. 1 minute. I'll just show my screen. Okay. Is my screen visible? Can you see that? Can I just get some answers? Yeah. Okay. So here we have a standard HTML document. So far it's good, right? Am I going too fast? Am I going too slow? Anything? Can I get some answers? Is the speed okay? It's good. Okay, great. Yeah. So this is a HTML document. Okay. So you have three basic elements in a HTML document. You have the first element is a HTML tag, which is a must in every HTML document. Then you have the head element and you have the body element. Okay. So all the contents of a HTML document is placed within the opening and the closing tags of HTML. Then you have head. So what is this head tag? This tag basically just gives you extra information about the page rather than how the information should be shown in the page. Okay, that body takes care of it. So body will tell you how it should look in a page. Head will just give you information about the page. Okay, so then inside this head we can see another tag. It's the title tag. So this title tag, basically the contents of a title tag that is over here will be visible on the title bar of a web page in your browser, or in Chrome you can see it on the tab. So this is the name that will be visible on your tab. Okay. And this is the body tag. So inside the body element, you have the actual content of the web page. So what we see in the browser is what are the contents of the body tag. Okay. So here we are seeing a new tag here, which is the H1 tag. It's a heading tag. Okay. So HTML offers 6 levels of headings. We'll look at it in the next slide, the slides coming, but then the coming slides. But so H1 tag is the biggest heading. So it's a main heading. This tag is used to specify the main heading. It will show the text in bold. Okay, it'll be very big and it'll be bold. And then we already saw a paragraph tag. So it's a P tag. So it just says this is a paragraph, and you have another heading tag which just says hello. Okay, some contents between them. So we are using, so this is a attribute. So it's inside the starting tag. Although it's the same as title here, this is a tag, this is an attribute. Okay. So it's inside the starting tag, and this is the name, this is the value. So it says this is the main heading. So this will just add extra information. So when you hover over this heading, I'll just show it to you now. This is the, this pop-up will come up. It's like a tooltip basically. I'll just show you. So when I run this here, so this is the, so did you guys miss something? When did you stop hearing my voice? Should I repeat something again? Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't know why this is happening. Okay. That's one. Okay. Okay, so shall I continue now? So this, I'll start again from title. So this is the title tag, and so the contents of the title. Sorry for the inconvenience again. Okay, so you have the heading tag. So H1 is for the main heading, and you have H2 here, which is for a subheading. So you can see the difference here. So this is the content of the main heading, which is bigger and bolder. So all the heading tags make the text to be in bold. So this is much bigger than this. It's a main heading. Now remember I told you we'd used an attribute called title. So when I hover over this text, can you see this tooltip that comes up, which is the main heading? Yeah. So one minute. Yeah. Okay. So this is the paragraph and this is hello. Okay. So this is a simple HTML document that we've just seen. And we've gone through this. I'm assuming all of you have Sublime Text. I hope you've all downloaded Sublime Text, which will be the code editor that we'll be using for this. Can you all just say yes or no if you have downloaded it? Yeah? Okay, cool. So let's start with our first code. We just do a trial code here. Okay, just open your Sublime Text, all of you. Yeah, so open it.
So when, sorry to interrupt you in between, all of you open your Sublime Text, and when ma'am is teaching, you have to simultaneously do it. It's not just one-way session that ma'am is doing and you are
Yeah.
it. You have to practice it, you have to do it on spot there. Hands-on training should be there. Any doubts, any errors, you can ask ma'am immediately. Okay?
Yeah, please ask as soon as you get it out. Okay. Don't don't worry about anything. Just ask it out. Okay. So have you opened your Sublime Text? Just click File here. Click a new file, and you'll open a new file. Okay, a new page. Yeah. Can you see this plain text in the corner over here on your right bottom? Click on that and you can choose HTML here. You can see they offer a lot of languages. Just choose HTML. So I'll make it a HTML document. It'll be easier to type in your code when the text editor knows you're typing a HTML document here. Okay. So I just showed you the structure of a HTML document. So can you just start typing? Just, you know, the three elements that are there. You have the HTML element, you have a head element and a body element. And I've showed you the heading tag, and then you have the paragraph tag. So just make a very sample HTML document, just a very plain website like the one I showed you here. Can you try making the same page here that I just showed? Just try recreating it. Yeah, start off with it. If you're getting stuck in between, please let me know. Are you all able to do it? Should I show my document once more? Just try. It's pretty simple. Once you're done, just put a thumbs up or just say done in the chat so I know and I can start continuing. Okay. What about the others? Take your time, it's all right. Okay, yeah. Okay, so I hope all of you are Done. So you've got an idea. You can make a basic page. Okay. So let's continue with our PPT and see what we have next. So a basic summary, we just saw what are tags, we saw what are attributes, we saw, elements and am I audible? Yeah, okay. One minute. Yeah. So now we'll start with the actual tags. So we'll start getting into text tags. What are all the textual markups that are available in HTML? So we have the heading tag, like we just seen. I told you you have H1 to H6. There are 6 levels. So this would be the main heading, and a H2, the content between a H2 would look like this: H3, H4, a H5, and a H6. You can see the size just reduces. They're all in bold, but the font size of each of the heading will reduce as you go down the numbers. As the number increases, it reduces. Okay, so the main heading, the most significance is given to a H1 tag, and the least significant is a H6 tag. H6 tag, okay? And this is the basic structure. You have H1, you have the content, and then the closing H1 tag. Okay, you can change the font sizes, you can give it color and everything, but we'll use CSS properties for that, which we'll look in the further classes later on. Okay, and we also saw a paragraph tag. I told you. So one thing you must remember about a paragraph tag is that by default, the browser will give separating each paragraph. So you can see here, it starts on a new line. It does not start continuing here. And there's some space. I have not given a new line character here. So there's some space between the paragraph tag. So before and after the paragraph, there'll be some space that the browser provides. Yeah, okay. So then you have the bold and italic. So you can make a text content bold by just placing it between the B tag. Okay, so it is a container element. That is, it has both the opening and the closing tag. And then you have I. I stands for italic. So you can make them slanting, the italic font that way. You can make them by placing it between the I tag. Then we have superscript and subscript. So you know how you have those chemistry equations like H2O. So the 2 is a subscript. It's below all the other. It's not on the same line with H and O. It's below it. So that can be achieved by using sub. And then superscript, like, your square, your cube, like x square, phi square. So that the square, the exponent value can be achieved by placing it between the subscript tag. Okay. Again, it's a container element. You can see there's an opening and closing tag. Yeah. Now we've seen so many container elements. And I told you there are empty elements also. So it just has one tag. It's just the opening tag, starting tag. You do not have a closing tag. So one example is the horizontal rule. So this is meant to draw, it just draws a horizontal line across your screen. You can control the thickness of the line. You can control the length, the width and the length. You can add color to it. For all of that, you'll use CSS properties. Otherwise, so just the plain HR tag will draw a line that starts from one end of the screen and runs to the other end of the screen. Okay, it's meant to give a thematic change in the page. So it like divides the page and gives definition, like that's a heading and the other is just text below it. So it defines it like that. And then you have the break element. So the break element, so wait, yeah, I'll show what a break element does. It just starts a new line. It gives a line in between. Okay, so let's look at this code. So I showed this code to you previously. Now you can see I've given, this is a paragraph. Okay, so if I give spaces here, you can see I've left a lot of space. Okay, let's just say I left space like this. You can see there are a lot of spaces over here. It's a white space, and there's even 3 lines here. I'll just save this code now, and I'll run it and show it to you over here. Can you see any difference here? It's still in one line. Although I've given so many spaces here, it considers it as one line. So HTML has this technique that it follows called the white space collapsing. So when you have multiple spaces here, it will collapse it into one space. So it will just consider it as a single white space, which is why you do not get any space between a and paragraph except for that one line. So if I want to add space here, if I wanted to start in a different line, one way to do it would be using the br tag that we just see. So all I have to do is type br here. It's an empty tag, so that's all. It does not have a closing tag or anything. That's enough. And if I save it here, if I refresh, you can see paragraph starts in a new line and it breaks here. So there will be nothing in this line, then it'll start in the new line. So that is your br tag. And if you want to see how the horizontal rule works, I can just put a hr tag here. Okay. If I save it and I run it here, and you see the horizontal line that comes across the screen. So this is the hr tag. By default, it's pretty thin and it's black and it's runs across the screen. So like I told, with CSS properties, we'll learn how to make it, customize it and add our own colors and thickness to it. Okay. So now so we've seen many tags now. So I'll give you an assignment or just a simple question. So try creating a HTML page. I'll just show you one. Just try creating that, So you need to try using all the tags that we have just learned. Try using the heading tag, the HR horizontal rule that I just showed you. Use that. And you have other subheadings. Make it look distinct. Okay, like the main heading should be different. The subheading should be different. And then use subscript and superscript elements. Okay, so I'll show you a web page. Try recreating this page. Any text you can add. Don't worry about the paragraph content. I just want a main heading which should be distinct from the other headings that are there in the page, and then a subheading which is again distinct from the main heading in a paragraph, and some content below it, and a horizontal line. And try using subscript and superscript and try with it. So just write some code to recreate this page. Try. Don't worry about the content. Also try using bold and italics. Can you see this text is in bold and it's also in italics? So try using that also. They are a container tag. So you have a starting and a closing tag. Any issues? Is anyone getting stuck in between? Yeah, what's it out? Please ask. You can put it up in the chat or unmute yourself and ask. It's okay. What is it out? Yeah. So over here, a HR tag, it's a empty tag, right? So you just have the starting tag. Can you see? It's just HR and I've put it here. That's all. In between, wherever you want the line to be drawn. So if I want it in between the paragraph, and I can just put a HR tag here. Okay, so when I save this and I run it here, you'll see another line here. So just place it wherever you want to draw the line. if you want it after a paragraph, in between a paragraphs here, since I've given a break, so I can add the HR tag here also. So you can just, you know, yeah, just add HR here. And then if you run it, you'll get a line in between there also. Is it clear now? Just put up a chat here. Don't worry what anyone thinks. Feel free to ask. At the end of the day, you need your concepts to be clear. That's all. So this was the page that we're trying to create. It doesn't have to be in the exact location. You don't have to recreate the exact one. I just need headings, different levels of heading. If you can see here, this is, I've used this, I've got this heading using the H1 tag. This is a H2 and this is a H3 because it's smaller than the other headings. It's a subheading. And then these are just a paragraph tag. Okay, and here I've just put a bold and an italics tag. That's B and I. And these are just HR tags. And over here I've also added a break, which is why it starts in a new line here. Are you all able to do it? Yeah, done. Okay. The others also tell me. I'll just show my code that I had written. So this is something that I wrote. Leave the contents of the p tag. So you can see I just gave a title saying try yourself, which is what you see over here on the tab. And then you have H1. I've given a horizontal rule right below the main heading. And my chapter 1 is a H2 tag, so it's a subheading. And my P tag starts from here and it goes till here. Yeah, you can see the small underline underneath it. So you can track where it ends. And then you have the bold. So I've made nature and new scientist bold because my bold ends here and it starts here. So it has all of them inside it. And I've used a I tag for bold. If you want, you can just simplify it by, removing this I here, adding a space there. Yeah. And all of this will again be, it'll give you the same output. Yeah. Just a minute. I got only one reply saying it was done. Okay, 2. What about the others? Are you done? And for subscript, I've put another heading here, equations, and I've made it like this. It's inside a p tag, and you have sub here, and you can make it superscript if you want. This is a superscript. You can make it a subscript if you want. Yeah? Okay. So I can see a lot more yeses. So let's continue. So now we'll see how to add a image in a HTML document. So it's pretty simple. You just use one tag. Again, it will be a empty tag. So you have the img element and you have multiple attributes. So in order to create an image, to attach an image, you need to use the src attribute that is there. This will give you the source. So this is the name of the attribute. The value of this attribute will be the URL to that image. Okay. So just you need a src tag. SRC attribute, within the image tag to attach an image to the page. And another attribute that must be there is the ALT tag. It's like an alternate text. Okay, so sometimes your images may not load. There might be some issue. Like if you're taking an image from the internet and you're using it, if you do not have internet connectivity, your image will not load. So in place of the image, the text that will be there inside your alternate attribute, ALT attribute, is what will be visible in such cases. Okay, in such a situation, I'll show you how it would be. And then you have the title tag. we had title attribute, I'm sorry, we had already seen the title attribute. It's a global attribute, right? So the title attribute, it'll provide the title of the image. So when you hover over the image, the tooltip will come, you'll get a pop-up, a small pop-up, which tells you the title of the image. And then you have attributes like width and height. So you can control the size of an image using the width and the height. And you should specify the value in pixels. So it works with pixels. You can give percentages also, but the most easy thing to use is pixels. Okay, so I'll just show you a demo of how an image tag should be. Okay, so we'll just use this program. It's just a random. We've already seen this. So here below this, I'll just write img. Okay, so that is the tag. And you'll have src, which is your attribute inside double quotes, you remember. And can you see here, I've opened my folder here in the side. So I have an image here, koala.png. So you can use any image extension. So it can be JPG, it can be PNG, it can be a GIF, it can be anything. So you should just make sure you're giving the extension correctly. So here I'll just write koala.png. Okay, so that will be my image. I'm giving, this is a relative URL. Okay, so when I'm giving this, the reason I'm giving just this is because it's inside the same folder as my HTML document. Can you see structure of the HTML document? HTML, that is the document we are currently in. It is in the same folder as the image. So I can just give the image name along with the extension. If it were in a different folder, I'll have to give the folder's name along with the image. So that's how the document will be able to track the image and get it. Okay, and we'll have the alternate text alt. Let's just say this is a pic. Okay, we have title. You can just say a column. Okay, that's all. Let's look at this as of now. Give it a closing tag. Just save it. Yeah. Go over here and run it here. Can you see? So a picture has just come up. Now, when I hover over this, can you see koala just came up? So that is the tooltip. So that is because of the title attribute. So now what is this alternate attribute, alternate text? Let's look at this. So if I make since I'm not using this image from the internet, I will not have any issues with the server having a problem or no internet connectivity. It's there in my folder itself. So let's say I've referred to the name wrong. I've just given it as png, but the file, the picture as such is koala.png. So now let's see what will happen. See, can you see? So it says, now it shows you the alternate text that we had specified. So it says, this is a pic. So this is what happens. I'm sure many of us would have faced this problem when we open some website or some news article. Sometimes the images may not load. It might be our internet connection or the server might be down. So in such cases, you get this and it'll show you an alternate text. So that's why you need the alternate text to be there. Okay, so that's your image tag. I've not showed you width and height. I'll just show it to you if you want. Width, okay, and you give it in pixels. So let's say I give it like 700 px. Okay, and let's make it what I have. Right, let's give it 900 px. This is because I've given the width and the height quite huge. You can reduce it and you can see. But nowadays, it's very outdated to use width and the height attribute inside an image tag. CSS will usually take care of this. You have CSS properties that will handle the sizing of your image. So let's avoid using width and height henceforth, but you can just be aware of the attributes that you can use with this tag. So, yeah. Okay, so now that we've seen this, let's move on to figure and figure caption tag. So HTML5 came up with these two tags. Because so you have it when you add an image over here on your web page. Usually, when you go to a website, sometimes you see your image along with a text underneath that image, which is like the name of the image, right? You have a caption for that image. There's no way you can do that. Like you can use a paragraph tag and you can align it like right under the text, but then a paragraph tag will again add some space. So it won't be associated with that image. It won't become one block. So HTML came up with this two different tags called as the figure tag and a figure caption. So a figure tag is just, it's an element, okay? So it will contain multiple image tags within it and then figure caption tag. So it associates that caption with a particular image. You can have many images if you want, but they should all have the same caption. Okay, so that is the figure tag. And your figure caption, FIG caption, is what is the element that you use to write the caption for a particular image. Okay, so I'll show you how that works. So now you have this image tag, right? So you just write a figure, so you can already see. I'm sorry. Figure, yeah, you can give the figure tag, and let's remove that. Yeah, we'll place this image tag within the figure. Okay, so you have the image tag, and to add a figure caption to this, just say figure caption and whatever you want to write for that. This, yeah, and you refresh it, you get the figure caption here. Okay, so it is associated with this. It will stick with this image. So you cannot move it. You can see there's not much spacing between the two. So it's associated with this. It's a block. You cannot separate them since it's between the figure tag. Yeah, okay. And oh, okay, so there's also another attribute, a global attribute that you can use here called align. So what does align do? You have now the picture is left aligned, right? So by default, everything in a HTML document will be left aligned. If you want to move it to the center or right, you just specify center here. Yeah, or you can give it in the figure tag also. Okay, let's just give it to fig caption. Content, instead of putting it to the image tag separately and putting it to the figure caption tag separately, you can give it in figure tag. So it will make all the contents of the figure tag center aligned. So it'll appear in the center. So any doubts with images and figure tags and figure captions? No. Yeah. So you're all confident you can add an image on your own? Can you just try with a previous program, whatever code that you have left, just try adding an image, or at least you need not have an image with you. So can you just put an alternate text to it and just try. Play around with the code, you'll get a better hang of it. So the attributes, if they don't make sense, try. I'm sure some of the attributes don't make sense that easily. The first time I read alternate text, I was like, why would you need that? Like, doesn't the title tag already do it, like the title attribute? But then, so once when I tried giving my code, my name, the image name wrong, or I realized when there's no internet for a image that you're loading from the internet, then your alternate text will come in handy. So try playing around and finding out what each of these attributes stand for, or what is the purpose of each of these tags. That way you'll remember it much clearer and you'll be able to use it the next time. Yeah, so no doubt so far? Yeah, okay. So that's your figure and your figure caption. So our next topic that we'll be dealing with in our session, just a minute. Let's close this. Yeah. Yeah. So the next concept that we'll be looking at in our HTML is lists. So what is a list? You have a you HTML offers you three types of lists. You have an ordered list, you have something called as an unordered list, and you have something called as a definition list. So what is this ordered list? Everything is the same. So a list is just, you have a heading or something and you have a bunch of points under it. So it's just a list. It makes the code more readable and you can quickly skim through a list and understand the important points. You know how we jot down points instead of writing a big paragraph, we'll have points. So it's easier to understand what is happening. It'll take time to read a paragraph and if it's in points form, you can just skim through it much quickly. So that is the purpose of a list. So you have ordered list. So what's an ordered list? In this, each item of the list will be numbered. So it will use numbers like you'll have 1, 2, 3, or you can have ABC. You can have capital ABC or small ABC, stuff like that. So it uses or Roman numerals. You have that also. So that is an ordered list. And you use the OL tag for it. Okay, so you use an ordered list. So all the list elements, so each element in the list or each item of the list is defined using the li tag. Okay, it's just list. So li. And all the items or all the li lists will be placed, li tags will be placed inside the ol element. Okay, so this is the ordered list. And we'll look into it, I'll show you. And then you have unordered list. You'll see this and we'll go. So unordered list just uses bullet points. So you can have different bullet points, like you can have square, you'll have circle, you'll have discs. So disk is just a filled bullet point and circle is just a empty circle. So you have different options in unordered list. So that is your unordered list. Again, it uses the li tag to to define each item of the list, and then so all the li tags are placed inside the ul element. Okay, so now what is a definition list? So definition list basically, unlike the other two lists, it just has a term which gives a definition and then you have the text below it. Okay, so that uses the dl element. So dl is used for definition list, and like the ol element and the ul element, so the dl, inside the dl element you have dt. So dt is the term that you're defining. So the term that you want the description, it's also known as a description list, okay, along with definition list. So when you want the term that you want to be defined or described will be placed between dt. So it stands for definition term. And then you have dd. So the description, the definition for this term will be inside the dd. Okay, so I can show you here. So you have, say, so you can see here, I'll just show it to you here. So these are examples of unordered list. So you get different options, right? These are different bulletin points. And when you go over here, these are examples of ordered list. So an ordered list will come up with numbers or Roman numerals, alphabets and stuff. So you can use CSS to change what you want. By default, it will be numbers. So let's just try. So I've just explained the list, how to use. So just use these tags. So try implementing it. I'll also type in here. If you're confident enough to do it on your own, start off on your own. And if you're not, you can just look at what I'm doing and get an idea. Okay, so just create an ordered list, an unordered list. You can have any item in the list, just use random text. But I just want you people to get the numbers and the bulletin points and a definition list. So just try with that. And I'll also start here. So you have the OL, which is the ordered list here. So just a horizontal rule. Don't look at mine first. Think, try doing it. You know all the tags that I used. It's an OL tag, an li for a list for each item of the list. It's an li, and you have ul, and you have dl for definition list like OL. Then you have dt for the defining the term, and dd for the definition. So just try. Any doubts, just put it up in the chat section. I'll have it here, so I'll look. So just try. I'll give you 5 minutes and then you can think for 5 minutes and then I'll start typing here. If you're stuck, you can see that also. Any issues you people are facing? Getting stuck anywhere? No? Okay. So I'll just say apple. Yeah. So have you guys reached something like this? Yeah. What about the others? You can see 2 answers, 2 yes. Yeah. Okay. So you can see ordered list. So you have numbers here. We learn with CSS how to change these numbers here and how to give different, how to make these alphabets like A, B, C, and how to make them in small Roman numerals and all. And over here we learn how to give square bulletins and disk bulletins. So this is a disk bulletin. So we learn how to give a circle bulletin and everything. And then this is your description definition list. So you have the term here. You can see a tab space here, and then you have the definition. So it just says that. Yeah. So we'll stop here for today. So we have covered with textual tags. There are few more textual tags. Okay, there are, you have, so the ones that we have taken up today were just the syntax textual tags or the syntax markup. So you have something called as a semantic markup. So semantic markups we've not looked at, we look at it in the next class. Again, there are a lot of tags in HTML, okay, and it's important to remember their names, certain keywords. You cannot forget the keyword. For a bold tag, you can't type bold in between. It has to be B. So these keywords, you can remember them only as you practice or use them more often. So when I say bold, it should immediately come up in your head that it's just a B between two angular braces. So with practice, you'll start getting a hang of it. At the moment, it might seem like there are too many tags, or some people might be okay with it, but it's totally all right. In the beginning, even I felt, oh my God, there's so much to remember, so many keywords. But later on, you'll get the hang of it and you'll start remembering them. So we went through textual tags. You saw headings, we saw paragraphs, we saw bold, how to make text in bold, italics, and how to make a text a subscript text, a superscript text, and also horizontal rule and a break. And we saw how to add an image and SRC, and I'll take up with links and I'll explain more about what is a relative link, what is an absolute link, everything in the next class. So in the next class, we'll be looking at hyperlinks. So when I take up that concept, I'll explain what is the difference between an absolute and a relative link, and how do you access an image if it's in a different folder. So I'll give you the path address. I'll tell you how to come up with the path address and everything. And we saw lists. So you have ordered list, unordered list, and a definition list. So just once after this session is over, just try remembering all the tags. Just write down these tags like for a quick reference, and just remember the names and what they do. They're pretty self-explanatory if you ask me, like DL, definition list, OL, ordered list. So the keywords just represent the name of the tag, P for a paragraph. So it's easy to remember. So just try linking them like that. And if you're not able to remember them that well, just try practicing it more. Just write more codes, simple codes. Don't even have to think too much about what to write. Just make a simple web page. Doesn't have to look good. We'll learn that with CSS. So when we go to CSS, which we'll do in like some 2-3 days, so that time I want your HTML tags. You should be very, very thorough with your HTML tags. So we should focus more on what properties to add. So there's a lot more keywords that we'll be learning with CSS, and a lot more attributes are there. I've just taken up few. There are a lot of attributes out there. So we should remember whatever we know properly so that we can take in more. So start practicing every day. Okay. So that's all for today. Now you guys can ask me doubts. Whatever doubts you have, please, we'll have the discussion session now. So just ask me whatever doubts you have. Anything. Am I going too fast? No. You're understanding, right? I'm making sense, correct? I hope the first class wasn't too boring. Yeah. When it starts with CSS, it'll be more interesting because you can see all the visual changes. That's what I like about web development. You can see everything front end majorly. You can see everything before your eyes. Like everything's very visual and creative. So when CSS starts, there'll be a lot more color, a lot more structure, and it'll just be much better. And you'll start loving it even more. Yeah? No doubts? Okay, if you guys have no more doubts then. So that's all for today's session. We'll meet up tomorrow. We'll continue with our class tomorrow and take up the next topic. So in tomorrow's class, we'll look at hyperlinks and how to create tables in HTML, how to create forms. So a basic form, how you see login and registration forms out there. So we'll start looking at those, how to do forms and create forms and tables and all that. And then we'll see different how to name. So you have additional markups, like you have an ID, you have class. So with the help of those, you can refer to a particular tag, and that'll help us when we're trying to style a HTML document. So we'll look at all those, and once we get an idea of all the fundamentals of HTML, we'll start with CSS. So everything that we've learned, we go in the same order. So we look at all the CSS properties you can give initially to a text document, the textual tags, and then to an image, how can you style an image, and then how to style links and tables and forms and everything. So we'll learn all of that. So after that, we'll go into JavaScript. Yeah. So this is it's a discussion time. So I've opened it out to you people. You can ask anything. Yeah. So that's all for today's class. Thanks all for joining. I hope it was interesting. I hope you had a good time. We'll meet again tomorrow. Same time at 7. Okay? Yeah. Thank you. Bye bye. Have a great evening.